If you've been with me from the beginning, you know that we all possess implicit bias, and that even if we genuinely desire to judge people on the merits, implicit bias can cause us to discriminate. Is there anything we can do about it? The science is still early and evolving, but there are some ways to mitigate our biases and their impact. 3 basic strategies are mindset, debiasing, and decoupling. 1. Mindset. First, be humble. We have to own the fact that regardless of our training or profession, we're all vulnerable to biases. If you think that you are better than everyone else and uniquely objective or uniquely fair, the best scientific evidence suggests that you're more likely, not less, to discriminate. Paradoxically, the only way to be fair is to assume that you are not. Second, be mindful. Slow down and monitor your thoughts and behavior. Biases and heuristics really are mental shortcuts, and they're most likely to throw us off when we're tired, rushing, distracted, or in a high emotional state. We therefore need to slow down, pause, and reflect. Finally, be internally motivated to be fair and square. It can't be because you're afraid of external consequences, such as being forced to watch even more diversity videos. Instead, it's got to be an internal motivation to do the right thing, to promote the tournament of merit that we all seek. 2. Debiasing. Debiasing means scrubbing our brains of implicit biases. It's a challenging task because our biases largely come from what we see every day through popular culture and media, and it's hard to change that landscape all by ourselves. That said, implicit biases are somewhat malleable, and if we receive sufficient counter-messaging, we can begin to remold our implicit attitudes and stereotypes. Debiasing can occur through meaningful exposure to countertypical exemplars. For example, individuals who occupy counter-stereotypical roles. Female scientists, Latino doctors, Asian novelists. If we're fortunate, we encounter countertypical exemplars in our daily lives by navigating diverse and fully inclusive communities. For instance, if you enter a college with lots of women deans and professors, you're likely to decrease your implicit stereotype that links leadership to men over women. And even though we can't unilaterally control the media, we do have some control over the images and experiences we consume. So, what's on your screensaver? What photos hang on your wall? Whom have you had lunch with? Don't get me wrong, hanging a photo of President Obama won't rid you of bias, especially if you loathe his politics. But lots of little things, over time, can produce meaningful change, especially if we remain constantly vigilant and actively resist stereotypical associations. One helpful exercise is stereotype replacement, which goes something like this. First, recognize when your thinking seems driven by implicit attitudes or stereotypes. Second, label such thinking as biased. Third, reflect on why this occurred in the first place. Last, replace that thought with a counterexample and try to think and act accordingly. 3. Decoupling. The truth is, often we won't be able to meaningfully scrub our brains, so we need to pursue a parallel strategy of decoupling, breaking the causal link between bias and behavior. If we know that our brains are imperfect, we must design procedures and structures that check against predictable failures. Think of these as structural or institutional reforms that function notwithstanding human error. For example, if unconstrained discretion allows too much room for implicit bias to manifest, we can cap in discretion and agree explicitly on merit criteria before evaluating candidates. Adopt standardized evaluation forms. Add structure to interviews. If implicit attitudes lead us to favor our own in-groups, leading to self-replication, we can diversify search committees such that one person's in-group bias counters another's. If we can't see the subtle ways that implicit bias is creeping in, we can try to use metrics and data dashboards to warn us about drift. That's why we at the Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion check applicant pools and shortlists to make sure that talent isn't prematurely filtered out from full faculty consideration. Remember, no one is immune, no one is perfect, and we're all still learning. But when we work together in good faith, We can build equity for all.